Welcome to another episode of Three Cups and a Dash of Spirituality, where we answer more of your listener questions. Play the music. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Three Cups and a Dash of Spirituality. And we're going to be answering more listener questions. And we've got the lovely Michelle.
Hi, everyone.
And the feisty and sexy Stacy.
Hello, everyone.
Why do I get lovely and she gets spicy and sexy?
Like, she's going to say that. I knew she was going to say that.
Probably because I'm ancient.
No,
You're not.
You are not.
It just made me turn bright red, though. Good Lord.
So we're going to do more listener questions. Our listeners are not disappointing with the questions that they're sending in. I'm so excited.
Fun.
Keep them coming. I love listener questions.
Well, this question actually was kind of inspired by me because I thought it would be a good question. But have you ever seen an older version of yourself, either in the physical world or in a meditative state?
I was in Sedona and I was hiking. I was by myself. This is before I went to a shamanism thing. And the older me on her deathbed, she came in and she said, "Thank you for taking all these adventures." And, my left brain kicks in. I'm like, okay, maybe it was her, maybe it's not, but whatever. Just kept hiking. And then when I went to the shamanism, which stayed on land where there's a lot of vortexes, I went for a walk in between some of the lectures and she came back and she said, "You're such a baby," which then choked me up because at that time I was going through a little midlife crisis thing. Like, what am I going to do with my next chapter of my life? What da, 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 da. And she was basically saying, like, "Honey, you're young. You're not old." And that choked me up. That's when it choked me up and I got teary-eyed because I needed that. I needed that. You don't have to have it all figured out and your life's not going to be over in 20 years. And
did it shift your opinion on the midlife crisis you were going through at that moment?
it did, because she said it's basically saying you have the whole second part of your life. You don't just, when you turn 65, you don't just sit on the porch and drink coffee and then you're during the day and then your wine at night. This is how I saw my grandparents, though.
I mean, I feel like that's a great life, though.
But, well, you'd probably get bored. You'd get bored.
Well, I mean, you know me.
Yeah. But yeah, there's just so much more for me to do and that I want to do. And she was saying, you're not just going to get super tired and just want to sit on your butt all day long. And I'm like, oh, that's what she switched the perception for me.
So it was like a little kick in the ass, like, get going and try your dreams, do a podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Go to these haunted locations.
Yes.
Live. Get busy living.
How about you, Stacy? Have you ever seen either meditatively or in the real world another version of you?
So I have, when I was working with a hypnotherapist for a long time, a lot of the hypnotherapy sessions, I would meet with a future version of myself. What's interesting is the future versions of myself that I met were not who I am now. And they were like other opportunities or other chance, like, time doesn't exist. So there are multiple things that are happening. So the answer is yes, but no.
What did some of these older, because I saw one in a business suit. I'm like, what was some of them? Well, how are they so different from you?
So I will say, at one of the biggest things for me, as we've discussed in the past, are my tattoos have a lot of meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of them had any tattoos. And so for me, because I know me now, I mean, I'm covered practically in tattoos, that it must have been, another lifetime, another, possibility of me doing life differently. And that's okay, because the information that they provided me was what I needed in the moment anyways.
So this is bringing up something for me that I don't even know what it's called, but some people say in a lifetime, you have infinite possibilities, and that every time you make a decision, you branch off into another version of yourself. And so you're saying that you connected with one of those other versions.
Yep. Yep.
I
That's
was giving a
fascinating.
what did one of them look like, though? What was she
Honestly,
wearing? How was she
so
different?
I remember like longish green dress with long hair, my color hair, all of it was my color, same body style, like same body, same everything, except no tattoos
What was she
whatsoever.
wearing? A long green dress,
Yeah.
and what'd she say?
I think she just told me to keep moving forward and keep focusing and that I was on the right path. And that was, whenever you get that message and you're in a hypnotic state or a meditation, all that I took from that is while the person was me, it didn't necessarily have to be me in
Yeah, I
specific
get it.
lifetime, right? As long as the message is you are on path, you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like that's a key takeaway, right?
I like that.
What about you, Michelle?
I was walking up near Diamond Head in Hawaii, near Honolulu, Waikiki
Pretty.
Beach.
That's pretty.
And as I was walking up that mountain, I passed someone. And it's like we both stopped and she looked back at me and it felt very familiar, very much like a knowing, very much like, was this an older version of me recognizing, or is it another piece of my soul put in some, you know what I'm saying? What is that called where another timeline of
Incarnate,
mine
essentially.
Mhm.
passing in the day?
That's interesting.
What do you think?
I like to think it's you and that you just kind of happen to like step into a weird time warp and saw yourself in the future. I like that idea just because time doesn't really exist, so that stuff happens all the time.
But
So
on
why
my
not?
current timeline, I'm not going to know until like 20 years down the road whether or
So
not
was
that actually happened.
she
Which
was
is even
older.
more. Yeah.
She was older, yeah.
Okay,
Which
okay, okay.
I mean, to me that's even more cool. Like, why not?
How old was she?
This had to be like within the last 10 years. So I would say 20 or 30 years older than where I was. But that's
So can you
inspiring because it means I keep up
relate?
my exercise and I keep, up on being healthy and I'm still around in 20 or 30 years.
I would like to be able to hike up that in my 60s and 70s. That's tough.
It wasn't up Diamond Head. It was up the road to Diamond Head,
Oh, to
which is
Diamond
all
Head.
uphill. There's a lighthouse there. So that's what I do.
I could see you doing that in your 60s and 70s, though.
Oh yeah. Oh
Sure.
yeah.
It's very inspiring to me. And I have had things happen up there, seeing things, feeling things. It feels very spiritual and connected, which Hawaii kind of is like that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Or have you found
Oh,
places in this world where you just feel like that energy speaks to you?
what's the place where you take the windy road? What's it called? Hana. Road to Hana. Hello. That's where I just felt so it was magical in Hana.
How about you, Stacy?
I don't get to travel that often, so I don't have a lot of examples. I think the only place that I've ever felt like super spiritually connected has been in the middle of the woods near me.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
you don't have to travel far to get to those places.
Gorgeous where she's at. Gorgeous.
I'm very lucky, yeah.
But is the Appalachian close to you?
Whites. We're the whites.
Right. And they don't have any of that stuff that happens in the Appalachian.
Don't know. I honestly don't know a lot. I've only heard stories, but there are people that have. So we do have the Appalachian Trail here. The Appalachian Trail goes up through Maine, but in the Appalachian things that you're talking about are more
Yeah.
southern in the warmer
Oh,
climates. But I know that there are different stories that have been shared here. There are books written about. I mean, the whites here where I am are supposed to be the most dangerous parts of the Appalachian Trail that exist because we've got, Mount Washington here and the climate can change on a dime. And a lot of
Oh,
people don't know how quickly it can
I
change.
see.
So even if they've hiked in other countries that are dangerous or other locations in the US that are dangerous, a lot of people actually so morbid, come and die in my state and, the state next to
Really?
mine because they're not prepared.
So when you're in that area, do you feel stuck spirits?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I love the woods here. Even if I'm not like up north in the whites, here locally, oh yeah, it's very busy.
So kind of along the same topic, do you think that your spirit guides have ever taken a human form and you've seen them in real life?
Yeah, that is weird you asked that. And this sounds so weird. And I don't think they took a human form, but I went and saw this spiritual lady and I she put me on her table. I thought she was going to do Reiki or massage, but she ended up doing a meditation. She goes, your guides want to connect you. And this is the first time I connected with one in my mind's eye. And he had like overalls on. He was like 6 foot and he had the long gray beard. And then just a few days later, I pulled up next to a guy in a car and he had this older man with a long, and he just started doing this with his beard. Now, was that I don't think so, but I do think it was a ding, 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 ding. We're here.
That sounded a little ominous. We're here.
Mm.
I do believe I have seen my spirit guide in my third eye, but not as the big presence he is. Or maybe it was even a dream state where I saw him as just this average, everyday person. And he led me down this hallway and I followed him back there. And I looked in a room and it was me and my husband in our 80s. And it woke me right up. But it's like, I know what my spirit guide looks like, but in this dream, he was very presentable. He wasn't as big and bold as he normally is. And yeah, he gave me a glimpse of something that it was weird when I recognized it and recognized that was what was going on, that it was actually my husband and I in that room.
That's
That's
really cool.
so you were in a meditation.
I was in a dream state. So it wasn't like in the
Oh.
real world around me. So a little bit different than the question I asked, but it's the only thing that's coming to mind is to seeing my guides in a different form than I feel them and have experienced them.
Interesting.
How about you, Stacy?
I've only ever really seen my guides once when I was meditating. I would say my answer though would be I have, because I think, and I can't like put my finger on an experience, but I know that there have been those moments in your life where you meet someone like out of the blue that doesn't impact your life for except for but that moment, but changes everything because of something that they say. And I know that I've experienced those moments where I've been, in a coffee shop and a stranger starts talking to me about something random. And whatever they say to me just impacts me so deeply that it shifts my thought processes moving forward. And that to me is essentially what being visited by a guide would be,
Mhm.
in the iteration of a human form.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm sitting here mesmerized by your words as you're speaking because I guess until this minute, I didn't put two and two together. Yes, those are transformative moments. And I could see where it's a spirit guide. And here, I never thought of it that way, but they just come and say something and then they're off on their way. And it does change the trajectory of either your day, your life. Thank you.
Or just everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little shook here. Okay. I'll shake it off and I'll get on to the next question. And here you go. If you could teach the world just one spiritual concept, what would that concept be?
Let's go, Stacy. That's huge.
How to approach everything from the perspective of love.
Clap, clap, clap.
Did you send in this question, Stacy? Because I
I
was
did
like,
not. But this
Perfect
has been one
answer.
of my hardest life lessons to this day, because whenever I step into conflict, the one thing that I do to prep for a really hard conversation, or just, those moments where we're really struggling to get our point across, I know at the end of the day that if I can approach that with love, it is going to change the entire conversation. It doesn't matter who it's with. It doesn't matter what the conflict is. But if you step into something with that vantage point of, this is another human and I choose to love them where they are, it can change the trajectory of the entirety of the conversation.
I love that.
Yes, I love that. Perfect.
Wow. How about you, Carissa?
I'm going to have to back that one up and agree. That's it. Because doesn't it all come down to love? And doesn't love connect with peace? And peace connects with satisfaction, and satisfaction connects with joy. And feels like that could be the root of
Definitely.
how to love someone who has maybe parts that you don't like, but other parts that you love, How can you be okay with that? And that's our humanity. Well, if they're this, then we don't like them. And it's like, well, but look at all the other things you love about them.
Right.
And that we're perfectly imperfect.
Right.
And I'm going to piggyback on that. I think one of the concepts I would like to share with everybody, and we talked about it not too long ago, is that feeling of I am, and the power behind those words, and stepping into confidence and knowing that you have something to offer this world, and you shouldn't be afraid to share it. You shouldn't be afraid of being judged. You shouldn't be afraid of being shut down. And that as you walk through this life, know you're doing the best you can, and give yourself grace, because you give it to other people freely. You forgive other people. You're here also doing the best you can. And so you need to give that grace to yourself. And so I think it would be on the same lines of love, but the concept would be believe in yourself, believe in your own magic, because there's only really one of you, and you should embrace that. It's a gift.
I love that too. It's so powerful. And stepping into that feeling of I am too is so, so meaningful as well.
And in shamanism, they say if you want to stop the wars outside yourself, you have to stop the war inside yourself first.
That's also brilliant. I love that. So how do you calm those storms in the middle of the night, those wars you're having with yourself that keep you awake all night?
Hold them with love like a little infant baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cradle them.
Sometimes it's easier to preach than to practice, but I'm just
Absolutely.
better at
Yeah, because
listening
people
to
want
my
to
own.
project. They want to project, well, you're wrong. You're bad. It's like,
Well, and you have to remember that even as a practitioner or anything along those lines, as a psychic medium, as somebody that's been practicing and reading for years and years and years and years, we ain't perfect.
mm-mm.
I know, Carissa, you and I had talked earlier this week because of struggles that I'm walking through. And Michelle, you and I talk about struggles that, I'm walking through and you're walking through in life. And sometimes, we step back and we realize that we're not, perhaps meditating, or we're not meeting things with love like we could be. And it's not about perfecting that practice. It's about going, okay, tomorrow's a new day. And tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to put my best self forward and be okay with the fact that I didn't, perhaps do everything right today.
Yeah.
And that's letting me, or allowing me, to step into what my grandma always used to say. It was, this too shall pass. And it's so true. When you go to bed with so much on your plate and you feel so heavy about the way the day is gone, you sleep on it in the morning, it does feel a little bit better. And you just have to keep walking through it. But this too shall pass. And that makes me happy just thinking about her saying that.
I love that.
Okay, well, here's another question. What is one thing that you can do today that you couldn't do a year or 18 months ago?
A year, maybe 5 years ago, is really step in that place of love that I was talking about, that Stacy was talking about. But a year ago,
I think I'll say for me, it's jumping into a meditative space quickly because that took me a really long time to practice. And now I can take 2 minutes and be ready to read, whereas before I couldn't always do that.
Okay. And I did add 18 months ago because I did do this a year ago, but 18 months ago, I could never see myself doing that. And that would be knowingly walking in to a haunted space with a history attached to it. The Velisca House, the Sally House, and New Orleans, putting myself in a room 18 months ago, I never would have been able to do that. I would never have fallen asleep. I would have been a basket case, but it really is just stepping into this whole growth and knowing I had people around me that I trusted and that it was a safe space for me. And it was about the experience and knowing that I could use all my practices, such as protecting my energy and what I know about death, what I know about intuition now. It just all came together so beautifully. So that's the one thing I would say.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's fun. Sleeping though, no one must sleep.
Yeah, nobody messes with Carissa's sleep if you haven't guessed. But we were talking the other day, and you may have shared this, that how cool is it that is it astral travel and your watch is picking up on it? Your apps are picking up
Oh,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I had a psychic session with Sam. Eventually, he's going to come on we're going to interview him. And one of the things he asked, he goes, "So, what do you think about astral travel? And do you think you have?" And I said, "That's actually where you said that because 3 times my phone tracker has picked up that I have left the house. I mean, out of the whole time I've had it. And the first time it happened a couple of years, maybe a couple of years ago, my husband go, "Did you leave the house at 1:30 a.m.?" I said, "What? Let me see." I said, "Honey, it shows I went through someone's house into the canyon, stayed there for 30 minutes to an hour, and then came home." Yeah, like I can walk through a house, honey. And then when it happened, and those nights I had slept, I sound like hard, barely moved, and I wake up throughout the night. That's why sleep's so important for me. And those 3 nights, it's like barely moved out of the position where I woke and I slept really hard. It's really a hard concept for me to grasp. And even Sam was saying, don't try to wrap your head around it because that's how I am. I always have to wrap my head around it. But yeah, that's weird.
It is. Like, how is your technology picking that up? I could drive myself crazy trying to think about how the
Yeah.
logistics of that or the
The
whatever of
only,
it
the only
work.
way I can think of is like part of me or my guides did that just to go, hey, take a look at this.
Check this out.
But yeah, do you think my soul carried my phone? Absolutely not.
How about you, Stacy? Have you ever had technology alert you to something that you may have done in a sleep state or a meditative state?
Honestly, not that I can think of. The only thing that my technology alerts me to is how bad my insomnia is.
Well, that is a thing too.
Yeah.
And I've had my technology where I have slept amazing. Not anything as cool as what happened for Carissa, but it picks up only like 2 hours of sleep. And I'm like, well, where was I the rest of the time? Because
Right.
I was asleep. And for some reason, it's not picking up any of that information.
That's interesting.
That is weird.
It is very weird. Do you think we have time for one more? Or
I
I'm
think we have time
full.
for one more.
this kind of ties in to the last question because we're all growing and changing. Is there one thing that you've done since you started reading for others that hasn't changed over time? So one practice that you continue to carry through as everything else has evolved.
Energy protection, connecting to
That's
love
a
and
good one.
yeah, connecting to my spirit guides, that loving energy. I mean, yeah, I don't want anything else coming through.
I would say my reading style, because I've always read the same way from the jump, but everything else has kind of evolved and changed as I've grown. But the way I read has remained the same.
Okay. And I know when I first started doing the readings, it took me a lot to walk into that state to be able to read. I was so ritualistic about the way I did things and the things I would bring in. I would run around my house for like 10 minutes gathering little trinkets to put in the desk so I felt like I could read. And over time, that has evolved and changed. And I feel like I can step into a reading state much quicker. But the one thing that hasn't is I still really do feel like I need to have that meditative time before to allow information to come through. So when I step into the reading, I feel prepared. And still with my readings too, a lot of times when I do readings the night before, loved ones will start coming through or information will start coming up. And I still appreciate that, even though it causes me a little bit of insomnia sometimes. I can't fall asleep. Any other thoughts before we close out this episode? Any other like reflections that you would like to share after these questions?
I think the only thing that I'll throw out there is, one of the coolest things about stepping into spirituality is how much we evolve over time. And while some things remain the same, I know how much the three of us have changed just in the time that we've known each other. And it's really, really, really cool to see that shift and that growth and all of the things. So,
well, what a way to end it, Stacy. You just nailed it again.
Love it.
Well, I guess I'll say, stay classy.
Stay sassy.
And stay absolutely badassy. Until next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.